In this lesson, we're talking about the pain points of your target audience. Now, in the past section and this one, you've thought a lot about this because as you develop your positioning statement and even just from the last one, defining your target audience demographics, you are thinking about what they want and what they need. But in this lesson, I want you to be a little bit more specific. So think about what they need help with, what you can do to help with them, and what do you actually solve for them. So let's look at some case studies to really break this down. Here are a few problems that some of my audience has. First is just not being able to take good photos. And that's something that's probably the biggest audience of mine, or the biggest audience out there, are people who just don't know how to take good photos or don't think their photos look good. More specifically though, and this is good for you to do to kind of make your problem and the pain points a little bit more specific, is that people don't understand how to take well exposed or well composed images using the manual settings of their camera. Now, before I go on, you can start to see that if this is the problem that my audience has or that I'm targeting, then the content that I create for this case study might be a little bit different, might be a little bit more focused than what the problem was with the last case study, which was just general not taking good photos, right? Going even a little bit further, a problem for my audience might be not understanding how to use the manual settings of a Canon Rebel T7i camera. Very focused, very specific audience, but not the biggest audience either. So I was writing these down, kind of thinking that you can get a little too far with the problems. And if I wanted to be the Canon Rebel T7i guy, the guy that makes tutorials on that camera, I could probably do a really good job at that. And I could really grow an audience of Canon Rebel T7i users. There's a lot out there. Could I grow an entire business off of that pain point? I'm not sure. So I'd rather focus on a little bit larger problem, which is just not being able to use the manual settings of a camera to compose and expose good photos. That I think will be better than this problem, but also better than the bigger pain point of just taking bad photos. Of course, though, we welcome people who are in this subset of people, and we welcome people who are in the other subsets as well. But as I create content, I'm really looking at the pain point in case study number 2 to do so. So now, as you write down your problems or your pain points, you can start to write down solutions as well that you provide as a business. So another problem, for example, is that I get a lot from my students and people in the photography and friends community is that they just aren't inspired to practice their photography. And beyond that, going out and practicing is the best way to become better. And so by inspiring people to go out, I'm helping to solve those other problems. So our solution that we came up with is to do weekly photo adventures that challenge them to go out and try a new style of photography. So every week in our community, we post a challenge on Facebook in our Facebook group to go take a different type of photo. For example, last week I think was take a photo of whatever you were drinking at this moment or later on today. So we had a lot of people trying to compose images of their coffee cup or soda or whatever they were drinking in a cool way. I think this week is to post a photo of an automobile, which we've gotten some great photos. And there's, any other sort of idea. Take a picture of something green. Take a picture of something that has water, that includes water. And that just inspires people. Sometimes people just need direction to be inspired and to take action. So that was one way that we are solving this problem. Another problem that we noticed our audience has is that they don't know how to pose their subjects for portraits, or they're not confident in doing it themselves. So what we created, the content we created, was a downloadable guide with over 100 illustrated poses. So they can have this guide, they can look at it, and then they can even show it to the people they're posing and say, hey, this is the photo I'm trying to get. And it really builds up their confidence, especially for beginners just getting started out with portrait photography. So as you can see, you can start to write out your problems and to actually come up with solutions for this. Another solution for this exact problem might be to create a series of tutorials on how we go out and pose subjects. Another one might just be posting inspirational images from weddings that we've shot that include different poses every week or something like that on Facebook. So there's lots of different solutions, and that's where content marketing gets really fun, is once you have the problems, you can come up with lots of different ways to solve those problems for your customers. And that's great because you're really helping them with the content you create. So take a moment, write out the different problems, all the problems that you can think of that your customers might have, which will come in handy when you start to think about what content you're going to create later on.